Robert Duvall talking to the NASCAR in Days of Thunder, and Daniel-san waxing Miyagi's feet. No, fleet. Well, those guys have nothing on the work I'm putting into this car, but I am talking to it.
Oh, I'm gonna rub you down. You're gonna be all smooth and nice. Too many beautiful.
It's kind of silly looking back, but honestly, I've been dreading this bodywork for years. It's been menacing me from the corner while I worked on anything else but. I've used the old restoration rule of leave the bodywork for last as an excuse to avoid it, and all that time building it up in my head means the reality isn't nearly as bad as I was expecting. In fact, by the end of this video, I'll be well into getting the body sanded back, and I'm going to pull off the remaining sill, snap off the inner door hinge support posts, fill all 10 rear number plate holes that people drilled over the years, and of course, an absolute Karate Kid comeback level of wax on, wax off with the sandpaper. So let's go. Let's start with this little jarb. It's a vintage threaded insert or riv nut, one of 4 that held on the rear valance of the car, and it's got a seized bolt snapped off in it. Looking in from the back, it's just a big ball of rust. The central tunnel though has examples of what it would have looked like. That's nose candy on everything, by the way. You know how it was in the 70s. The hole below the original fitting is where someone banged a new fastener in, and if you think that's bad, check out the buckshot near side. I suppose this means I can expect the rear valance to have some extra lightening in it too. I'll replace the threaded insert with a modern aluminium version, but a lot of sanding and repair has to happen first. The big hole, by the way, handles the rainwater runoff from the rear of the car. In the meantime, I've done another couple of days worth of filling and sanding to fix air pockets and dings in the undercarriage, and there's so much dust and grit left that I need to do a quick cleanup before I chase the last few repairs and spots that I missed. The backside of those repairs to the lip around the engine bay didn't come out as hoped, but the repair itself is much stronger than I was expecting. So I'll attack again from the back and fill them with a thickened resin with chopped strands in it. What really struck me with this repair is how much waste there can be with fiberglass work, but I suppose A more experienced guy might waste far less. Strange, given the steel threaded fasteners in the rest of the car, but the front valance seems to have been held on with the modern aluminium type that I'm going to use. I can't be sure because they weren't put into the repair section on the driver's side of the car, so who knows. I'm moving on to getting the passenger side sill off, and now that I know how, this will be a more definitive guide. You'll see there's a rivet that gets glassed over during production, one on each side of the car, and there are two under the door hinge posts I mentioned earlier each side, and another hidden inside the front wing area. I had to remove the driver's sill, at least, because the handbrake mount bracket that's captive inside it was cracked. Now, I've read accounts of owners managing to get these brackets out without completely removing the sill, but I don't see how. Not without damaging the fiberglass of the sill and or body. So, my take is it's better to take them off completely so that they can be properly assessed and repaired where needed before reassembly. You'll see what I mean in a few minutes. And if you're an Esprit owner wondering whether rust has gotten into your steel hardware behind the sills, get an endoscope and check that way before going to all this work. You can clearly see what I mean about the damage caused by removing the sills. Using a thin implement like my sharpened paint scraper to cut through the bonding is the only way I can imagine to do it as cleanly as possible, and even then, you're at the mercy of the tiny amount of access you have to wedge that implement in between. The result is either torn fiberglass in the sill, or in the inner sill, or both. You can also see that whereas the rivets extend all the way along the sills, the bonding resin is concentrated at either end with only some splodges of it in spots down the middle of the car. I fancy I can make this sill area stiffer by bonding the whole way, but that leaves me with the possibility of trapping muddy water that was likely able to escape before it built up over the years. You can see telltale splashes on the bodywork inside the sills where it was able to splash in the sill drain holes. The water will drain, of course, one way or another, but will sills that are uniformly bonded all the way along their lower edge trap mud over time? Whatever I decide, this passenger side sill has a small issue the driver's side didn't. Some of the rivet holes fall off the edge of the upper section. I'll have to build out that section a little so that each rivet is gripping plenty of material, but that's no biggie. Now, my young apprentice, concentrate on the tape. Believe in your ability to mask. Oh man, the force is strong with you! Woo! This is where the resin started to go off before it finished. It'll literally begin to congeal like this. But I knew it was coming because I'd put a little too much catalyst in the mix by accident. Because mixing such small amounts, you're literally trying to drip a handful of drops into the resin. And best practice is just stop trying to apply resin that's starting to turn, but on a tiny inner sill repair like this where I'm only trying to seal the open fibres and where there'll be a good deal of bonding resin applied later anyway, I rolled the dice. That's it. I got a ferocious way into the bodywork, and whereas I know there's lots more, it feels like the back is partially broken. Mine is too. Both sills have some prep already done, but no repairs. The door hinge posts will need some welding, and I need to decide whether to bond them with reinforced resin or something more modern. I'm excited to get into the front and rear valances. They both need fiberglass as well as a lot of sanding, and then it'll be the doors, tailgate and bonnet. All that seems like a mountain to climb, more so than the upper body. I'm leaving that until last. To my patrons, who are the absolute lifeblood of these videos, thank you for the virtual hugs. And speaking of hugs, a guy called Christiaan sent me a very cool game, packed with beautiful images and tasty info all about the Esprit. It's already on my coffee table, and if you're an Esprit guy or girl and you'd like one, there'll be a link in the description where you can get your own. Thank you, Christiaan. Welcome new patrons David Mortensen, Chad Geidel, David Youngans, Stephen Richards, Lydia Winter and Charles Drummond. I'll see you in a patron update ASAP, and until then, you know it's that rising time of year, so get stuck in, stay stuck in, and good luck.